Hey everyone, I am John Browne, guitar player of Monuments and owner of the Rhythm Guitar School Riff Hard. And welcome to the Guitar Summit. I hope you're enjoying yourselves and enjoying the classes that everyone's been giving on here in the master classes, of course. And today I'm with Klotz Cables, who have kindly fitted everything in this studio with their cables. The quality of them is amazing. I've been using their stuff for over 10 years now, and I've still got the first cable I ever bought from them, and it still works and it's still awesome, you know. And that was a titanium cable from a long time ago. But anyway, that's not why I'm here, just to big up Klotz. It's actually to show you how I would go about firstly recording a guitar amp, but also how I would document that by creating an IR for the cab and the position of that mic. So my chain today, just so you understand, is I've got a DI signal that I've already done, and that's going through a radial X amp into a bunch of pedals. Got a Boss EQ, cutting a little bit of the low frequencies to make the guitar a little bit tighter. I've got the Reaper Pandemonium, which is my signature pedal, which is a boost pedal, which is very similar to an OCD or a Voodoo Lab Sparkle Drive. Going into a 14 Zool noise gate, which then goes all the way around to the other side of the room, and it goes into an AMPETE amp switcher, then into the Driftwood Purple Nightmare, which is absolutely disgusting in the best possible way, into a Mesa Boogie 4x12 cab over there, which is mic'd with a JZ Microphones HH1. It's on a DYNAMOUNT, which is the X2R, so I can sit here, move the mic position around and not have to get up and constantly move it. It's absolutely fantastic for that. And then that's going into a 500 series NEVE 88R preamp, which is then going through an Orion 32 Plus Gen 3 from Antelope Audio, and finally into Cubase, which is right here. So in order to get a good sort of reamped guitar sound, the first thing that you're going to need is a really good DI, and obviously a good guitar player that doesn't play, well, soft. And as far as DI boxes, like this DI was recorded with a radial J48, which is a really solid DI box. It's the standard. But you can also get some really great results from something like this, which is made by Simpleway, or even something like this, which is made by Klotz Cables themselves. You'll need a good preamp, and for this DI I recorded into my Audient ASP A80 preamps, which are really clear, not too much coloration, and they just work great. They're one of those preamps that sort of should be a staple in nearly every studio. So yeah, I mean, if you want to listen to what the guitar sounds like, well, this is it. Sounds pretty sick to me. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to record those tracks with my DIs, and then I've got a VHT that I'm going to do the other DI. So I've got 4 tracks of DIs here. The main one, which is one per side, and then an overlay at the end here. And it's not the whole song, it's just a segment of the song I'm going to get. And then after we've done that, then I'm going to show you how to capture an IR of that cabinet. God damn, that's loud. So let's have a listen to that quickly. Okay, that sounds good to me. So let's do the right hand side. So now DIR, Driftwood R, and let's go. So I'm just going to see what this sounds like with these two, and then I'm going to get around to doing the other two on the VHT head, which is just up here. And this is an octave lower guitar, which is probably slightly out of tune, to be honest, but I mean, I'm sure it sounds all right. Anyway, let's have a listen. It sounds pretty good to me. I've got a little bit of EQ on there, little mid cut, lower mid to get rid of the cab woofiness to a degree, I guess. Just the mid range, you know how it is in metal. We like to scoop our mids if we can. 4K, you know, because always. And there was also something about 12 kilohertz that I noticed, and then obviously just a high shelf. I'll probably put a low cut on there as well, actually up to about 60. The shelf 24. Copy this EQ setting and paste it to the other one. Oh, it doesn't do the low cut. Okay, so 60, 24. Let's have a listen to how that sounds. It sounds pretty good in the mix, so let's have a listen. Solo the DI R wide, solo the R wide one as well, and then I'm just going to turn onto the VHT, which is over here, and turn this on. These controls sounded pretty good to me earlier when I was giving it a go. So let's just have a listen to see what it sounds like. Sounds pretty great. So let's just record that down. All right, let's do track 2. So left wide, recording. Well, awesome. Okay, we're done with the DIs. So now I'm just going to turn off this amp because it's very, very loud. We're going to need those amps again very, very shortly to create our, when we create our IRs. So then from that, I'm going to do a DI directly from the amp without a cab so that we can hear what it sounds like with the IR and with the mic to see how close we actually are. But anyway, first things first, I want to listen to see what this sounds like as a mix. So that's one thing I'm going to do. Sounds pretty dope to me. So now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to record the same amount of time as in what we've done here with our direct signal, which is going through, you can just see it on the edge of the screen here. I've got a Boss TAE, which is a tube amp expander. Yes, you can see it just there. And my guitar amp can also go into there, and then I've got a XLR going through into an Audient, which is then going into Cubase. And then I'm going to create an IR from the cab and see how close it is to the mic thing. So first things first, I'm going to switch cabs. Go to my driftwood. And now play the DIs again. Just so you're aware, this is going to sound absolutely disgusting because there's no cab and it's just going to sound awful. So let's just have a quick listen. Already sounded awful. And we're recorded with the DI guitars, which is through the Boss TAE, as I said earlier. Now, the reason that I didn't record those at the same time was just so that you guys didn't get confused. Like in a normal situation, you could record them both at the same time. And potentially you should, along with the DI, just so that, you know, something might happen. And it's good to have those options. So now I'm going to show you how I would create the actual IR. So the first piece of software you're going to need is Voxengo Deconvolver, which is an exceptionally old piece of software, early 2000s, and this is the easiest way to create an IR, and it still works and it still does the job. And the first thing you wanted to do is create a test tone, which is test tone generator, which you click here. Everything that you want, duration, generally 30 seconds minimum to get the right amount of information. Mono, obviously, we're going to be doing the IR in mono. We're at 48 kilohertz sample rate and a 24-bit depth. But I created this one earlier, which is Sweep IR Creator. Then we're going to go back to Cubase, and over here, all the way over here, all the way down, I already have my sweep through the millions of tracks I have on Cubase, which is right here. As you can see, it's pretty crazy. So then what I'm going to do is I'm going to be playing that through a power amp into the cab. And you want a really clean power section. So over here, probably just out of shot maybe, if it's on the wide angle one over here, there is a SAMSON SERVO 260, which is a fanless power amp, linear, and it does the job. Doesn't need to be crazy loud either. It just needs to be able to recreate all the frequencies in which you need it to. So I'm going to press solo on this track. In fact, let me just shrink these tracks because I can't seem to get there. And then you'll get a sweep that sounds something like this. Oh yeah. This is what the sweep will sound like through the cab. Yeah, so now I'm just going to record that, and I'm going to record it onto my other channel, the one that I recorded the original amp with. And let's just do it on left. And the reason for that is because obviously I've got some EQ on that channel, and I want the EQ to be on there so that I don't have to reapply it afterwards. If I like the EQ, then I may as well apply it to the IR, which I do. So let me just press record now and let's get on with it. So I'm going to start a bar earlier. And there it is. So now I'm going to export that file, and you want to make sure that your ending is just a little bit longer than the original sweep. So I've just then extended it out by a bar. And then I'm going to export. In fact, I'm going to unsolo everything. Driftwood L. So export audio mix down. I'm just going to export it to the same place as my sweep. I'm going to call it Mesa Cab 4x12 IR JZHH1. And then wave file, don't need real-time export, but channel batch export here, and I want to select that particular channel, which is somewhere down here. Where are you? Driftwood L. Then export. Don't want that in the working directory, so cancel. Go back to Deconvolver, and now you want to add in your file to process, which is in browse here. Scroll down, Mesa Cab. Here we go. In order to make an IR file, make sure that MP transform is turned on. Everything else can remain the same, and just press process. Done. That was easy, wasn't it? So now I'm going to go into my project. I'm going to take the Driftwood IR that I did, which is here, and I'm going to add an IR loader to each of those channels. So obviously we've got the EQ here. I'm going to turn all that off because we've already applied it. And I've got reverence open here. So I'm going to go to reverence. I'm going to import my file, which is this one. Yeah. There we go. So let's have a listen to see what that one sounds like. So it's a little bit quieter than the actual amp tone, but we can fix that. And then I'm just going to copy those same settings to the other channels. This is our IR sound, and then I'll rotate between the two. So this is the Driftwood IR. Driftwood IR. The actual Driftwood. Driftwood IR. It's very close, isn't it? So let's see what they sound like in the mix. So let's just play the mix. That is crazy close. The one thing I will say is that the IR slightly has a slight bit more top end. Well, the mic signal has a little bit more woofiness in the lower mids. But overall, it's pretty damn close. The IR sounds pretty damn good. You know, it recreates it perfectly, especially if you're using the same environment, which is obviously the amp, the guitar player, and everything else. It's really, really close. I'm actually pretty impressed myself that it's that close. So just to go over everything again, like the complete signal chain in order to create something like this, you need, firstly, a good guitar player with a good guitar. And you need a very high quality DI box. You need a very high quality preamp to put that DI box into. And the reason being that you want something that doesn't create too much noise. You want something that firstly recreates the sound of the guitar perfectly. And you also don't want that noise, because when you start doing stuff like this, you'll really begin to notice that noise floor if the quality isn't up to standard. And then my chain for the rest of this video was Cubase out through the Antelope Audio Orion 32 Plus Gen 3 into the Radial X-Amp 500 series, which then goes into my guitar pedals, which is the Boss EQ, the Reaper Pedals Pandemonium, which is my signature overdrive pedal, 4-in Zool noise gate, into both the Driftwood Purple Nightmare and the VHT Pitbull 100 CL, which is through the AMPETE switcher into a Mesa Boogie 4x12 cab, mic'd up with a JZ Microphones HH1 dynamic microphone, which then comes back through into my 500 series AMS NEVE 88R preamp, which is then back into the Antelope Orion 32 Plus Gen 3 and back to Cubase. And then for the DI'd head sound, which is without the cab, so we could create the IR, I went through the Boss Tube Amp Expander, which then used an XLR cable into the Audient ASP 880s, and then into Cubase. And just to be super clear, when we were capturing the IR, we were using a solid state amplifier, which was a SAMSON SERVO 260, because we want no coloration when creating our IR. You want it as linear as possible because you're sending a sweep through the cab and you don't want the coloration of tubes and you just don't want any coloration in general. So you want the flattest power amp that you can find to do the job. So anyway, thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoy the rest of Guitar Summit. Thank you very much to Klotz Cables for inviting me to do this masterclass with you. And as I say, every cable that was used in the creation of this video is made by Klotz. They make excellent stuff. If you're not familiar, definitely go check them out. They are roadworthy. You can literally batter them for 10 years and they'll still work. Obviously, I'm John Browne. If you've not heard Monuments, go and check it out. If you're not familiar with riffhard.com, then go and check that out if you're wanting to get better at rhythm guitar, something that's never really properly been taught before. And you know, you can make amazingly fast improvements on your playing by just focusing on the right things. And even with lead guitar, the fundamental basis of having good phrasing is rhythm. So anyway, thanks very much for watching, guys, and I'll see you later.